Well, there's so much exciting work being done in space, and it's really paving the way for our life here on Earth. I spoke with the president of Worcester Polytechnic Institute, Laurie Leshin, who is also a former NASA executive and who worked on the Mars Curiosity rover, about everything from Kate Rubin's return home to what's next for the Ingenuity helicopter, which made history this week as the first aircraft to ever make a powered, controlled flight on another planet. Here's our conversation. You previously worked on the Mars Curiosity rover mission, so we know that you have deep knowledge about everything happening at NASA. I'd love to get your reaction first to Dr. Kate Rubins, who returned to Earth a few days ago after 6 months in space. It just must be remarkable to speak with the astronauts once they return.
Yeah, she looked really happy to be back on Earth. She was high-fiving all the wonderful folks who were pulling her out of the capsule, and she looked to be in great shape. I've heard other astronauts who, after coming down from the space station, when you've been up there for 6 months in weightlessness, things like, you take a glass and you let it go like it ought to just stay there, and it drops to the ground and breaks. So there's definitely an adjustment to gravity coming home, but they're doing amazing science. She did amazing science up on station, and it's great to have her back.
Incredible. She was the first to sequence DNA in space. Is that right?
Yeah, she's done an incredible amount on life sciences. There's so much potential for life sciences and microgravity, new therapies and things that can be investigated in what is really a national laboratory in space that we have in the International Space Station.
Amazing. And a new group getting set to go, right?
So exciting. Launch of the second crew in the Crew Dragon, leaving from U.S. soil since we resumed flights to the space station from American soil. Megan MacArthur, who got to know when she flew on a Hubble servicing mission back in 2011. It's great to see her going back to space.
Yeah. And of course, anyone who Googles you will find that your Twitter handle is @LaurieofMars. So you have so much experience. We see the red planet behind you there in your office. Let's talk about the very latest. We've seen all the amazing pictures of rocks and the landscape coming down the last few weeks. But the Ingenuity helicopter was truly historic. The first aircraft in history to make a powered, controlled flight on another planet. I mean, I think for laymen like the rest of us, we just think it's all extraordinary, but put it into terms for us how enormous that moment was.
I remember when they first floated, pun intended, I guess, floated the idea of the Ingenuity helicopter, and I thought, that is not going to work. There is no way. Mars's atmosphere is only 1% the thickness of Earth's. To think about, how do you fly a rotorcraft in that kind of atmosphere at lower gravity, by the way, too? It's incredibly challenging. And the fact that they did it and they put this little 4-pound thing on the surface of Mars, had it survive for several days while they were getting it all checked out, and now having it fly. Wow, a total Wright brothers moment on the red planet.
Yeah, it really is a big wow. And when you think about the enormous possibilities it opens up, that we would be able to send a spacecraft to Mars and that one of these helicopters could do the exploring and not put astronauts at risk, that really opens up so much potential, doesn't it?
And there's so many places on Mars that even a robotic rover will not be able to go, and that humans will not be able to explore. The main canyon system of Mars, Valles Marineris, would stretch from LA to Boston if it were on Earth. It's that big. And so how do we explore something like that? I would love to have a fleet of drones flying around, looking at those layers, helping us decipher the history of Mars by drone on Mars. Amazing.
Well, when you consider the size of the planet Earth, and if you landed some sort of craft in the United States of America, you wouldn't be taking in the terrain of any other continent, right? Same thing. Right. I'm curious, because you worked on Mars Curiosity, is there anything that you're seeing now that builds on the work that you were a part of?
Sure. I mean, I think they're just getting started, in part because of having Ingenuity and needing to get her flight done, and they're not finished with flying Ingenuity, by the way. They'll be doing even more with her coming up. But the sort of science part of the Perseverance mission has been a little bit more slow in getting going because we've been focused on the helicopter. So really the best is yet to come from Perseverance, as she'll be able to start driving around and exploring rocks and starting to take subsamples of those rocks and storing them for later return to Earth. All of that work really builds upon what we learned by doing that kind of study with Curiosity. And we're in a whole different part of Mars where we're going to get to explore a whole new set of geologic terrain.
Wow, amazing. It's so much fun to follow the Perseverance on Twitter, for example. I think NASA has been so much more successful at giving the public access in real time to what's happening. Sometimes in the past, I don't think it was their strength to give Americans an idea of what everyday things we have, like GPS, that are only possible because of space exploration. Can you put into regular terms some things that we kind of take for granted that are a direct result of the space program?
Oh, absolutely. The technology that we invent to do things like fly a helicopter on Mars will have direct impacts to improve life right here on Earth. We see that everything from the algorithms we use to analyze pictures from the Hubble Space Telescope have been used to improve breast cancer imaging and breast cancer detection. All of the things that we're doing to keep astronauts safe in space, ultimately can help us keep people safer here on Earth. Closed loop life support is a great no waste system. That imagine there are ways that we can use that right here on Earth, and mostly, that every dollar that's invested in space exploration is a dollar that's actually invested right here on Earth. Great paying, great jobs, great technical jobs help us maintain, national and global leadership in not just exploration of space, but pushing the envelope in technology.
Sure. And of course, the Space Force, who are called the Guardians of the High Frontier, right? Isn't that the official term? That is going to be crucial for commerce and protecting satellites, right? So there is still so much left to work on when we look up to the stars.
Space is a frontier, not only for science, but it's an economic frontier, and it is, increasingly a competitive frontier globally. We need to make sure that our satellites in space that, again, we rely on for everything from, predicting the rainstorm outside to helping us know where we're going in our cars. Those things need to be protected, and the Space Force is helping us make sure that we're really smart about our space assets, if you will.
And as I watch through the Perseverance on Twitter, I keep thinking, well, how would we ever feel if we actually saw a living being as it's going around Mars? So we will definitely be back in touch as more and more photographs continue to come to us through Perseverance. Laurie of Mars, WPI President Laurie Leshin, thanks so much for being with us to talk about space and how much work is left to be done. Thanks.
Thank you, Paula.